Alright, we are in the garage once again with the CRX. And as you can tell, I've already got it on jack stands. So our goal for today is I want to just kind of dial in some fine tuning on the CRX. So we've already got the coilovers installed, we've already got the sway bar in the rear installed, but there's just some minor things that I need to do to get this thing kind of up to speed for CRX or for autocross and get it ready and more of a competitive state. But first things first, you might notice there's some puddles along the ground here, and the reason for that is I just washed the car. So kind of a little bit of backstory here. Tomorrow's event, and we've got to work quick because we have an autocross tomorrow, but tomorrow's event is an Axis versus Allies themed event. So what I want to do is I want to come in here and I just want to paint a couple of Japanese flags in here. So I want to do a couple on the doors, and then I also want to do one on the hood here. So I don't know, it might be a little tacky, it might be a little silly, but I figured for the spirit of the event I'm going to give it a try. So I just washed the car, and now I want to just come in here with a fiber or a rag and try to clean this up a little bit or just dry it up and give it a shot. I've never actually plasti-dipped anything before, so we're going to plasti-dip a couple of white rectangles on the doors. Then we're going to plasti-dip the hood here, and then my wife, she's helping to cut out some vinyl stickers that we can put on. So we'll give it a shot and see how it comes out, and we'll go from there. So first things first, I want to get that going so the plasti-dip can dry, and then while I'm working on other stuff, that'll be curing, so that way later on tonight I can put on the stickers. The nice thing is, for whatever reason, the car looked pretty good when I bought it, but now that it's been sitting for a little while, I don't know why, but all of these little rust spots showed up. So it might be nice that at least the plasti-dip's going to cover this up for tomorrow's event, and then long term we'll plan to deal with this a little bit more permanently. So I'm going to do a quick attempt at masking off here. Now one thing is I kind of want it to match the actual flag proportions. So that's like 11 3/4 vertically. And so I'll just kind of paint along the whole thing. But I want to paint far enough out that it matches the actual flag, 16 1/4 or something. So here, everything. Not exactly going for perfect, I just kind of want to get close. Okay, so I think I have it taped up well enough. I mean, maybe I want to go in here and fill this in, maybe just a little bit. I don't know. This is my first time doing this, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't turn out too bad. But again, since I have to fix the paint anyways, if I get overspray, I just sand it off later on. But really, I think this might be the first time I actually used painter's tape for painting and not numbers. So kind of an interesting tip I realized is the wrappers for paper towels actually fit perfectly over the mirror. So it was kind of a happy coincidence there that it just fit over. Okay, that's not a hole. That's good. Alright, so I think I'm ready to paint, or as ready as I'll ever be. So I'll just start going in here and spraying some stuff on and see how it turns out. got a couple of heavy coats of clear coat on here. It's not the best job. I never really got it quite heavy enough, I think, with the white coat to really fill in some spots, but I kind of ran out of paint, so it's the best we got. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start peeling off the paint while it's still, or the tape while it's still wet. So that way it doesn't peel up. Alright, well, it turned out okay. So there's a couple of stripes on there that I'm hoping kind of blend together as it dries. Those are the marks from when I was painting over it. A couple of areas where I got some overspray. So unfortunately these headlights got a little bit on there. And then the other kind of downside with it, so that turned out decent, but the cheap painter's tape I got, I think it was from Harbor Freight, left all this adhesive behind. So I'm going to try to, I don't know, I guess sand that off maybe. And then a couple of areas where the dip pulled off just a little bit with my tape, with my masking tape. So I don't know, it turned out. I don't know if it turned out well, but it's what I've got. This one turned out a little better. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out along here, that nice clean edge. Though again, I've got some adhesive marks left behind. A little bit of spray on the window here. I'm going to try to clean that up. So I'll clean up a little bit, and then we'll get on to some actual work on the car. Alright, so I left you for a little bit there, but I've got the wheels and tires off now. And the reason for this is I want to roll the fenders. So let's take a look underneath of here. So what I want to do is roll this edge here. And the reason for this is we're running wider tires on the CRX than it was ever really meant to. So it's a popular mod. I've never actually done it myself before, but we've been running into a little bit of rubbing with the CRX, and it came across in the one autocross video where there was a ton of rubbing from the rear. So I've kind of taken a mallet to it to try to fix it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this edge along here was actually rubbing against the sidewall kind of all of the time. And so this liner was actually melting a little bit, and it was leaving behind on the sidewall. And so I took the sledgehammer to this. But I want to actually roll these things today and do it the right way, or at least the pseudo right way, I guess. So I ordered this really cheap fender roller off of Amazon. I think it was $60. And so I'm a little skeptical based off of some of the reviews I read, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, worst case, I mess up these fenders, they have to be replaced anyways, so it works all right. Now this fender here, I chose to start with it because it's already dented and it has some rust on here, and I've already got a replacement for it. So I figured of all the fenders to try to learn how to do a fender roll, this would be the one to do it on. Alright, so that's that first corner done, and actually it kind of seemed a little violent with how it was bending the sheet metal around, but it looks like it came out pretty good. So I'll bring you inside here. So this is kind of what we're dealing with here. So you can see the metal was pushed up, that little lip that keeps the fender liner in place was bent in. So that's kind of what we were shooting for. So I just want to bring you in and show you. So I didn't really know what people are talking about, the paint cracking, but we can see here, since we take the metal and we bend it in, we're bending it like this, it puts stress on the paint right on this lip. For whatever reason, I always thought it was on the exterior for, I don't know why. I guess I didn't really think about it before. But it's right along here, all along, our paint is now chipped. So just kind of, if you wanted proof on why you want to use a heat gun it would be these paint chips here. So I could show you. It just comes right off now because it's broken that bond in there. But overall, I mean, it actually feels nice and smooth inside. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. So now let's go around and do the other sides, and we'll bring the heat gun into it. So it actually turns out, I don't know what happened to this fender, but this one also has some damage in here that I noticed the other day. So with this one, I'm not as concerned. Well, I wasn't concerned on the other one. I'm not really concerned about this one either. So this will be good practice to see if we can keep the paint from cracking on this fender while we roll it. And if we can get this one down, then I'll be more confident to go to the rear. Alright, well, kind of mixed results. I've got some areas that didn't chip, and then I've got others that did along here. Actually, kind of all along here. I think what happened is I was kind of focusing in on here with the heat, and I was trying to roll. There was like a little protrusion over here, which maybe you can see just a little bit of it still, that I was focusing on. And so I think I neglected to heat these areas. And then I had the roller kind of set to an aggressive setting for over here. And then when I came over, it was, I don't know, I guess maybe a little aggressive without enough heat. So this area cracked, but then what was interesting is it seemed like it got too much heat in here because there was this bubble that showed up. So I don't know what caused that bubble, I mean, other than too much heat. So I think on the next side, I need to be more careful applying my heat, not to overheat it, but also getting nice distributed heat all along, and then just take it a little bit slower. Alright, so this rear corner is going to be difficult because there's an engine in the way. So I have to kind of work around that. But what I think I'm going to do for the rears is I'm taking out, there's this little rubber trim piece that's meant to help protect the tire. So I just took that out. I think we'll give this more of a surface to work with, so I'm not trying to roll the rubber. But this one is pretty much shot. It's pretty much rusted all throughout. So again, not too super worried about the paint on here, but I'll give it practice because I'm saving the best corner for last. Okay, so things were going along pretty well. I had minimal chipping, so just kind of right in this localized area. But it seems like the trick that you need to utilize is just take it slow and just progressively ease into it. So I think that was the trick that kept from chipping it too badly. But the fender roller called it quits. So I think that is a sign that that is as rolled as it'll get. So I think that should be good. I think that should keep us from rubbing back here. So I think we're done with this part of the project. I'm gonna put this thing away, try to put it back together at least a little bit. And then I think I'm just gonna leave these things off. I think they're pretty much done for. Okay, so now that I've butchered my fenders and I've painted some white stuff on, what I want to do is I want to remove the front sway bar. And the idea here is I have the really thick and stiff ST suspension sway bar in the rear. So I want the rear to control all of the roll motion, and I want the front to have compliance to be able to put down mechanical grip. And so I'm thinking about it, and I think that by doing so, the inside corner might lose a little bit of grip. But then at the same time, I think the outside corner will be able to achieve better grip because it can take a set in the corner a little bit better. And then the inside corner might be able to maintain some grip, in that the spring should be able to push the wheel down in the corner. So removing the sway bar will increase that mechanical grip. So this sway bar isn't too difficult to take out. It's just this bolt here, the end links. If I could just get my wrench to actually fit on there. If I had to recommend a tool to have in the garage, it would be the impact wrench. Alright, so we'll go unbolt it from the other side, and hopefully that'll allow it to move up and we can get this end link out of the way, and then we just have to get the harnesses out. Okay, so we got that out of there. Now it's free to move up and down pretty much. And when I'm putting it away, what I like to do is just kind of assemble it the way it would look with all of the bushings, so that way it's not a complete mystery on how it goes back together. So you've got, whoa, there we go. So you've got the lower control arm passes through here, and then you've got this nut in the middle, and then this bushing. On top of that sits the anti-sway bar, and then you have another bushing on top of that. Anytime you have one of these nuts, the metal sits onto it, so it just kind of helps distribute the load. So now all we need to do is we just need to go in here and remove the bracket for the sway bar, and then from that point we should be able to kind of fish it out from the control member, or the that's not even a word, from the car. Okay, so I found it, and it looks like it's just this one 12mm bolt. There we go. That one is acting pretty strange for some reason. I don't know what that was about. Just gotta fold that out of there. Alright, we'll go get that other side, and this sway bar is out of here. Alright, let's see if we can wrestle this sway bar out of here. So far it's not looking really good. Oh, got a little bit of movement there. If we can get it. Oh, there we go, there we go. Alright, alright. And that sway bar is out of there. It's going to be interesting to see how it handles without it. The Civic was without a front sway bar, but we'll just see how the CRX does without it. Alright, so for our next project, we're going to be actually coming inside, and let me show you what we're dealing with here. So with the Corbeau seat that I have, what happened is I was actually surprised to find out that the CRX mounting points are different from the Civic. So I was a little bit surprised by that and a little bit caught off guard. So my friend lent me his universal set of brackets, which kind of bolt up to any chair. But what ended up happening is the way it sits in here, the seat itself is just a little bit crooked. So it's kind of facing away from the center cluster there. And what else is happening is I'm actually sitting a little bit too high in the car. So when I'm actually in here, my helmet hits up in the headliner, so I don't have a lot of room. So what I looked at doing is I actually just looked at Corbeau's catalog, and Corbeau actually has a set of brackets for this car. So let's go take a look at that really quick. So here is the Corbeau adapter here for the seat. And what's nice is the sliders are a lot thinner than the stock sliders, and it also sits pretty flat. So I think this is going to be kind of a nice way to get the seat pointed the right way and a little bit lower in the car so I'm not hitting my head on the ceiling. So let's get the old seat out of there and get this adapter mounted up and see what it looks like. Alright, so we just got these Allen keys, or Allen bolts, or whatever you want to call them, holding the bracket to the chair. You can see it was apparently a little wobbly. I wasn't aware how wobbly that was. Just a little scary. So that'll be another nice touch. This setup will just be a lot more secure than these apparently very wobbly parts. Let's get this mess out of here. Out with the old, in with the new. So let's see what we've got. So that went together a lot easier with the proper adapter, and trying to put the universal one in here was a huge pain. So it's actually nice that it came together so quickly. So let's get this back in here and see if it made any difference. Well, maybe it's a little better. I mean, at the very least, it's pointed the right direction, so that's nice. Okay, so we pretty much got everything we wanted to do today done, but I wanted to corner balance the car today on the coilovers, and I wanted to maybe try to give it an alignment, or at least a string alignment, but I didn't quite make it there. I gotta pack up and head home because it's getting late. So we'll leave those for another time, but we got pretty much everything done. So we just need to get this project buttoned up and put back together, and it's going to be as easy as, and there we go. So I'll have to dial in the suspension some other time, but I got everything else I wanted to do done. So I'll just have to apply those suspension tweaks some other time. But for this video, hopefully you enjoyed watching it. If you did, consider subscribing to keep up to date with where the CRX is going and other projects. And if you liked it, also maybe consider liking the video, thumbs upping the video. Is that even a verb? And if you didn't like the video, just let me know what else you might want to see in the future from these types of videos, or if there's anything that you could think of that the CRX needs, let me know in the comments, and who knows, maybe we'll end up making this thing faster after all. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.
Again.